Hello, everybody. My name is Maybelline, and this is Systers GSoC 2016 Automated Unit Testing for PCSA Web. And you can take it over from here, Anjali.
Thank you, May. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the demo of automation testing of PCSA Web. I was working on this project for Google Summer of Code 2016 with Mariam as my mentor. So this project is basically a development of a Java-based automation testing framework for PCSA Web, which is a web application which is developed to help the volunteers who have been sexually assaulted. It helps the volunteer to contact Peace Corps for help and safety procedures. So I had to test the features which were implemented during the program, and the main goal of the framework was to write test scripts which are efficient, reusable, executable, and maintainable for regression, functional, and integration testing. I also configured the framework on a cloud service browser stack for end-to-end testing. The initial plan was to configure the project on Travis also, but that couldn't happen. So this is the project. So first of all, why do we go for automation testing in the first place? So it has a lot of advantages over manual testing. The first of it is regression. Like we know that when a web application is developed, new features keep coming up. So we need to ensure that the old features are stable. So that is one of the reasons why we go for AUT testing. And it also enables us to do high-level testing like a user would use that application. Another thing is we can do combinatorial testing. Like if I have a login page, so we will have different test cases, and the data will be different for each test cases. So if you're doing it manually, we'll have to write 2, 3 test scripts for different data sets. But with automation, we can do the same thing in just one script. Besides this, AOT also ensures efficiency, reusability of code, quality, cost reduction, and better test coverage and speed optimization. So this is the technology stack which I was using. The OS was Windows 10 32-bit. Java was the programming language with the APIs from Selenium, WebDriver, and TestNG. The build automation tool was Maven, and the version control was GitHub. The cloud service I used was Browser Stack, and I enabled logging with Log4j. And the web browser I used, like I was using Firefox initially, then shifted to Chrome because of some compatibility issue with Firefox. So this is the project structure which I followed during my project. So basically, my framework sits in between tests and the web application. The test scripts do not interact with the web application directly. It interacts with it through the framework. So if I'm running a test, it will first go to the framework. The framework will have all the validation steps, and then it will start the test on the browser. The main reason I went for this is to ensure black box testing. Also, if there is some change in the feature later on, the user doesn't have to go and change the test scripts. Only the framework validation steps needs to be changed. And also, if a person is just running these tests, he or she doesn't know, and he's not very technically aware of the code, so he can just run the script without going in depth with the code. So that's why I followed this architecture. So these are the core features which had to be tested. These features are divided into two: basic features and main features. Basic features include landing page, login and registration, recommended page, side and menu bar, and the main features include Get Help Now, Circle of Trust Safety Tools, Support Services, Sexual Assault Awareness, Policies and Glossary, and Database. So I was able to cover most of them, but few of them like support services sexual assault awareness and policies and glossary are not yet implemented because I think the requirements were not finalized. Also, I've implemented recommended pages with stubs because it's not implemented yet. So apart from these, everything is there in the framework. So as I mentioned, the framework is configured with the following features. It has the login test, registration, logout, recommended pages test, get help now, circle of trust, and the project is configured on Maven and Surefire report for report generation. I've enabled Log4j for logging and debugging, and it is also configured on a cloud service browser stack. I've also completed with the documentation of the project. So I'll just give a demo of the test which I've written. So this is my workspace. It has two projects basically, the framework and the tests. As I told you that the architecture has a framework and test, and the tests are dependent on this framework. The tests are not directly interacting with the web application. That when I start a test script, it will go to the framework for the validation steps, and then the framework will drive the web application. So if I run a test, I've already started the application on the local host with the control panel. So this is the application which is already running on my local host. And if I run a test like login, so login, the data for logging test is coming from the Excel sheet. So right now I have put two set of data. One is success and one is failure. So if I go and run it, one will pass and one will fail. This is just the output console to see what is the data in the rows and columns. That is passed, and this test will fail as I've given wrong user credentials. So this is a sweet alert. Right now there's no API in Selenium which handles this. So I have given a wait to make this test fail. So that it will take a while to shut down the browser. So if we see the test summary here, the first one passes and the second fails. I've also done database testing. In this, I'm giving the data from the script to see if those users are there in the database. So if I go to the database, right now there's only one user in the DB. So this is my DB, and this is my user table. So as we can see, there is only one user right now in the DB. So if I'm giving two credentials here, two set of credentials here, one is there in the DB and one is not. So if I run this, the first one will pass and the second one will fail. See, here, the first one passes and the second fails. So this is how I'm testing it locally. So if I have to run the test on the cloud service, I have to comment out the path to the Chrome driver, which is needed for running it locally. and I have to uncomment these. So if I go and run a test from here, it will run on the cloud service. I'll run one test for select country for get help now. Also for running the test on a cloud service, I first have to start the binary file from the command line. I have already started that. So it creates a tunnel between my system and the browser stack server. So if I go and start it, I can see the result on my browser stack dashboard. This is my dashboard. To see the tests, I have to go to the automate section of this. And the test has already started from here. There's a latency because of the connectivity sometimes. Maybe. Mm, yeah, so as you can see, it's running here. So right now I'm testing on Windows 8 with Firefox 14.0. So while it is running, I'll explain how to configure the OS and the Firefox and the script. So this is the script for, this is the code for enabling the test on the cloud service. So this is the how I set the browser and the version and the OS and again the version for it. So it has started running. Let's check and go. So you can see it has passed here, and I can see the recording of the test here. So it is basically for selecting the location. It is changing. So this is the recording of the test, and it has all the logs also. So if there's an error, we can see here the where the thing went wrong, and then we can rectify it. So I try to cover as many combination of operating systems and browser as possible. These are all my recordings. And if I want to run all the tests at once, I can go to testng.xml file, right click on it, and then say run as testng suite. I'm not running it because it will take a while. Also, I can go to the POM and right click on it and then say run as Maven test. It will run all the tests and generate a test report for me. I've already generated one report because running all the tests will take a while. So the report is inside the site folder. So if I open this, On a browser, we can see the test report. So this is my test report. It will give a complete summary of what is passing, what is failing, and if it fails, why it fails, everything. If I click on this failed guess, I can just directly go to the reason why it's failing. And with Maven, I don't need to externally add jars. All the dependencies are there. So if someone has to set this up, they can just install and all the dependencies will be downloaded. So this is my POM file. It has all the dependencies for the project. So this is pretty much what I worked on. So the future work includes refactoring of the code as the new features come in to ensure stability of the framework. Also, the framework needs to be extended to include the new features which will be developed and which were not implemented during the program. As I said, I was unable to configure it on Travis CI, so continuous integration is also another thing which has to be done. So apart from that, some other potential tests can also be done on the framework like performance test, load balance test using Apache, JMeter or any other suitable tool available. So these are some of the links to the project and my documentation patches submitted my sister's wiki page. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anjali. That was very easy to follow. I don't actually know a lot about automated unit testing, and I learned a lot from that. That was very a great presentation.
Thank you.
One of my questions for you is, what were some of the differences or challenges working with a new project? Because last year you were able to do automated unit testing for VMS, and this one was something that was built new.
So last year I did it with JUnit, and this year I did it with TestNG. Also last year I didn't do anything with the cloud service, and I did this year, which was very new for me. And again, there was something like the timeline. It had to be very flexible as the app was in development phase. So yeah, those two things and the timeline, of course.
And would you recommend for somebody who wanted to start, I guess, dabbling in AUT to do something on this project or much more fleshed out project?
I think this is like the architecture I followed is very simple and very easy to follow, and any new person can join this project and contribute to it. So
Okay.
I don't think, yeah. So that's why that was one main concern, because starting from scratch takes a lot of time. So if you're doing testing for a same application, I think it's better to continue in the same project, unless you're going with another programming language.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you have any questions?
So I've been following Anjali throughout this period, so I think she covered most of the questions which I would have had. So one thing, so how I think so the good thing was because you've done testing last year and then you did a much more advanced stage this year. It was so when going back to the question you just asked about if somebody is new at testing, would it be better for them to come at this project or the previous project? So I think Anjali had a very good advantage because she was experienced in what testing is about. So my question would be, so you mentioned as a future work that as new requirements come in, you want the tool to grow. So how complex do you think that would be? How would you do that?
Actually, there are a few steps. If you are a newcomer, I can summarize it. Like I followed for myself. I used to write the test script, and then I used to create the same package or the file under the framework and then do the validations there. So if someone is following this approach, I don't think it will be difficult for them to follow it. And I have put a lot of comments in my code so that it, like, if someone is joining, it would be easier for them to follow up. So I don't think it shouldn't be that much difficult for them if they want to contribute.
Okay, excellent.
Obviously, initially they will have problem, but once they get the flow of one test, they can, of course, add tests to the framework.
Okay, yeah, excellent. And that's all from me. Yeah, I don't have many questions because I've been following Anjali's work, so.
That's okay. Well, thank you so much. And that's the end of this presentation.
Thank you.